I went through like 4 different really good business coaching programs, but no matter how good they are, no matter how amazing those coaches are, like I just have to understand what they mean in a way that I can replicate inside my business. And what does that mean so I can actually teach people? So it's like learning and teaching are different things, right? I think I just bumbled along for first 3 years. I just had no idea what I was doing, but I was just like, I'm just going to keep at it. And, it got to a point that your spouse says like, hey, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. Like maybe you should get, contract job or something. Yes, we had all kinds of conversation. There were some really difficult moments. And I'm like, am I jeopardizing my family's financial stability? Am I am I being selfish, like pursuing my dream? But I got to a point that my spouse finally said, you know what? I give you for your staying power. Whatever it is, you must love it.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And we are continuing our series on the coaches that don't suck. And Haysing and I were having a little laugh before we went live because we have been Facebook friends and friends from a distance in the different programs that we're in for a while. And this is our first real opportunity to have a real and raw conversation. Haysing, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So listener, Haysing empowers conscious coaches and consultants to build legacy businesses through signature frameworks, standout branding, and leadership mastery. And I think, Haysing, that's actually one of the big reasons I wanted to invite you to the show is I have noticed in your social content, you have a real no BS approach, and you're also really committed to your learning and your growth. So I'm just so curious, what's stoking your fire? Why are you so committed to doing a great job and telling it how it is?
Well, I am a former consultant, former corporate girl. The business is very new to me, like working for myself and having my own plan and things like that. So it's my year 4 and it's been interesting. A lot of ups and downs, and it fires me up because I get to do something that I really wanted to do. And I kind of came to a point that I had great career. I learned a lot in larger organizations, but I felt like I wasn't fitting in no matter how hard I tried. So I am so stoked to help people who feel like me. It's time for you to create something. You have your creative juice and soul going. How do we turn it into a livable, prosperous business while bringing out who you are, your essence? I think that's what gets me going.
That, and I think that's one reason that you and I have kind of been circling each other in orbit, because I'm also an ex-corporate girly.
Yeah.
Also have the consulting background, also been around the block and taken a lot of different programs, heard a lot of things that I was like, and I had to test that. And I like to joke that I'm the gal that will make a mistake a few times just to make sure that it was definitely a mistake before arriving at a new conclusion. A lot of our listeners are actually making some kind of a pivot from maybe a corporate career, or maybe they tried doing their business in a particular way and it's just not it's not clicking. It's not vibing. I'm really curious, what was the defining moment for you that you decided now is the time to make the leap? What happened?
From corporate to business, or
from corporate to business? When you first jumped into this thing, what was driving you?
I felt like I got to a point that I don't know what I was doing because I was trying really hard to fit in. And I was in my banking. So I had my pinstripe blue suit and high heels and everything. And I try to look the part, and and then I got a lot of support from senior executive leaders, and that was my goal. My single goal is to become an executive. And I think mistakenly at the time, I thought that if I have a big team, big budget, and I am a good boss, good leader, that means influence. That's all I knew at the time. So, I try, and there was a huge leadership change and, this reorganization, new CEO, those things happen in any organization, not just corporate, right? Government,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bit of a misalignment, to mildly put. And no matter how I tried, I just was put in the bucket that I didn't think who I was. So there was a change the bank, run the bank initiative. And I was always a change girl all my career, all my life. But I was put in this bucket of maintaining and running the bank, which was very important part of the work, but I was just like struggling with that's not me. And so there was a lot of discussion. I was like, I don't think that's me. So I tried a few times and I felt like, hey, like it's possible that people don't see what I see in me doesn't mean I am not who I am. So one day I was just like, you know what? Keep on going. And I don't think I'm on the right bus.
That's so good. Like you're
Yeah.
definitely I heard this description, as I've been growing my team and I've been growing my business as well. I got really frustrated at a point there because I was just feeling like I was not finding the right people, or maybe I was doing something wrong as a leader. And one of my coaches said to me, "Hey, sometimes you have the right player, but they're on the wrong bus, right? Or they're on the wrong seat in the bus and they're a great
Yes.
player. It's just they need to find the right bus or they need to find the right seat." And I
Mhm.
love that because, you and I are both really into certified high performance coaching.
Yes.
And something Brendan says all the time is that there's nothing quite as soul crushing as being an achievement but out of alignment.
Yeah.
And, kind of I really resonate with that feeling of like, hey, I'm checking all the boxes, I'm showing up, in this way, but there's just this voice that keeps getting louder and louder saying like this is not aligned for me. This is not an aligned achievement. I love that. So
Yeah.
when you first made the move, you've been 4 years in business, which congratulations, you made it past the
Yeah.
3 year
This is my
mark.
fourth year and I'm like, I'm still standing.
You're still standing. Like, honestly, that is so huge because a lot of people never make it to this point. I'm really curious, like, what were the challenges that you faced early on, like in the first year or two? What did you encounter that was maybe something that surprised you when you first got into it?
Think just being a corporate girl, I wanted to get my certification first because like yes, I've had teams, I know how to manage people, how to coach people, but it's a different level, right? As a
Mhm.
professional coach. So I studied the a credential CHPC by Brendan, and that was one of the best programs. So I had a good start, and there was a structure. But I think that the most difficult part was dealing with the empty calendar because
Mm.
like my calendar was completely booked by other people. And then after like long day of like 8, 9 hour meetings, then I come home and I do my work and I might just work on things that my team produced and to make it better. But just staring at the empty calendar was the most scary, the scariest. And like, what do I do now? I'm on my own. How do I? And then you're just dealing with, I thought I was a productivity queen and I set the pace and I lead all these big projects and programs. And all of a sudden, I felt like going from university to kindergarten. And I'm like, big kid sitting in this small chair. I just didn't know what to do. And I'm like, I wasn't productive after all. What do I do now? And just having to do everything alone and just like I have no IT team, I have no team, I have nobody who could do the important work so that I can enhance it. It was just like, you're it, girl, from beginning to end. And that was hard. And then just going through a lot of programs and making things my own. Because like I had no shortage of certification from program after certification program. I went through like 4 different really good business coaching programs, but no matter how good they are, no matter how amazing those coaches are, like I just have to understand what they mean in a way that I can replicate inside my business. And what does that mean so I can actually teach people? So it's like learning and teaching are different things, right? I think I just bumbled along for first 3 years. I just had no idea what I was doing, but I was just like, I'm just going to keep at it And, you know, it got to a point that your spouse says like, hey, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. Like maybe you should get, you know, contract job or something. Yes, we had all kinds of conversations. There were some really difficult moments. And I'm like, am I jeopardizing my family's financial stability? Am I am I being selfish, like pursuing my dream? But I got to a point that my spouse finally said, you know what? I give you for your staying power. Whatever it is, you must love it. Because
You could have been sitting in a conversation with me and Chris, like just
yeah,
literally not too long ago, just maybe even like a week ago. We had that very same sit down where he's like, look, I trust you, you know, because I don't know anybody that has more drive. And I'm like, well, you haven't met Haysing,
that's very kind. That's so kind.
you know, but it makes a huge difference. I actually just wrote a post about Chris that's going to come out a little bit later this week, which will have been months ago, I think, if you're listening to this on the podcast. But I was really just talking about how important it is to have that supportive voice in your corner. And for some people, that might be the spouse. For some people, that could be a sibling or a parent
Mhm.
or maybe even just a really dear friend. But just like having that person that in your moments of doubt,
Yes.
you have somebody who believes in you and reminds you of who you are.
Yes. Yes. That's really important. And I think a lot of times people who care about us, hey girl, like it's been 3 years and it's not really happening as fast as you thought that's going to be. And should you do what you do very well while gradually transitioning into it? Because I didn't have gradual transition. I just burned the boat and went all in. So that was another scary part of it. But I just feel like sometimes something just inside of you just calls you to something and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to do it, but you just know this is it. Um, yeah, and then I'm a bit rebellious that way. If somebody says I want to do something and somebody says like I don't think you could do it or I don't think you got everything figured out, and then I get so mad and so I'm like I'll shoot. It might take longer, but as long as I don't quit, I know I can make it happen. And I'm like, I get all fired up. Like, you know, there is ups and downs, of course. Like, there were times
Mm-hmm.
that I actually believed them. Yes, girl, like, you should probably look for a job. But I am glad I didn't because there's part of me when I left the environment and put myself in a different environment. For me, anyway, I couldn't do two things. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was a different capacity, different brain capacity. I just
Mm-hmm.
can't possibly work for other people and create something at the same time. So one thing I learned is when you're doing something on your own, you're so scared, but you are so determined and committed. Like I thought I was the least creative person when I was in corporate, just like pushing things and getting project done, but not much creativity. But I realized like 2 years in and 3 years in, and like I've got so many ideas because that's what new entrepreneurs are dealing with. Like you have so many ideas, but not enough resources or people or what have you to push you to that path, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really good feeling that I said, I am creative. We are all creative. It was just you just needed to be in a different environment to make that to bring that out of you, like something that's in you already, like just to rediscover. So I think that's what I loved. I just couldn't go back to how it was. I mean, it's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, but I'm here now. Like I crossed that bridge.
There you go. And I think there's a self knowingness that goes with this too, right? Because there
Yeah.
was a chapter or a season of your life that the banking made sense and pursuing that path made sense until it didn't. And I love your call out about creativity. I think one of the greatest gifts that I ever got was in a mastermind. It wasn't from the stage. It was actually from a fellow mastermind member who he actually did the hand drawn animations for Disney. So
Wow.
and then he
Yeah.
like later in life he's been teaching people how to be amazing as a drawing artist, and he turned
Yeah.
that into a coaching business, which is just incredible. But anyway,
Wow.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, should reach out to him for an interview. I think that'd be a very interesting conversation. But one of the things that he said to me at a mastermind, and I'll never forget it, is he said, Amanda, you're so creative.
Yes, you are.
And
Yes,
but
you are. I
thank
find
you.
you very creative.
But until somebody actually said to me, like, just a little tap on the shoulder of like, I see this in you, I felt the same way. I was always suppressing it. I'm a chemical engineer by training. I was a strategy consultant, and I am also a little Miss Productivity. So I had always kind of taken that linear side of myself, or that mathematical side of myself, and I put that on display and I showcased it. And my friend was the first to like kind of tap me on the shoulder and be like, "You're just like, you're so creative." And I'm like, say more about that. And he gave me a couple of evidences to say, like, you're somebody who likes to try on new things and to express it. You've got a huge imagination. And I was like, to hear it from a Disney artist. But that actually led me to torching a program. Like I burned a program that had done multiple six figures to the ground because I found it boring. I thought it was
Yeah,
boring,
yeah.
and I knew I could do better. So talk to me a little bit about like community and how are you going about building your business today? Like, what's your strategy? Can you tell us?
So I'm beginning to have a strategy. I was literally just throwing darts everywhere and just to see, okay, the practice and repetition. But I got to a point, okay, what is my strategy? And you hear these like organic marketing and different social platform and trying to reestablish yourself. And I think that the another scary part was there was no brand recognition attached to me when I left big companies. No longer.
I used
I
to
was
get
a
the
Haysing Han,
special
and I was
business
like,
card.
nobody knew who Haysing was. And I'm thinking, my gosh, like all these companies that I work for, everybody recognizes on, right? So I'm like, I'm rebuilding myself. And then I tried different platforms. I started with LinkedIn, I went to Facebook, and I did all that. And then I realized these are all amazing platforms. Like people before me, like right before COVID, when I started, I think that's where a lot of people created headway. That's my personal feeling. And then by the time I joined, it is so oversaturated to a point that even if you had a really distinct voice and brand voice, it was really hard to stand out. So as much as I love all these established platforms, I decided to try something new. And school came out, Sam Ovens, and created something. It was unknown. And I felt like, you know what? I might have a shot at that. I don't know where it's going to go, but I just felt like, hey, let's just join something unknown and less known or like growing. So I started investing on school. So I have a small free community I'm very passionate about. We're growing it. Members there are highly engaged, but that's my approach for now because I've done everything that most people did as a coach. I did one-on-one, I did this and I did that. And I see these people, like I'm marveling at them, people selling on stage, people selling through virtual live event. And like they're basically making compelling presentation to a lot of people, not one person at a time. And like from year one, I want to do this. I want to do this. I don't know how to do it. I want to do this. But now I'm like, dang it, Hasten, let's do it. Because first probably 30 time, it's going to suck. But that's your practice. And at some point, if you don't stop, you're going to be good enough that people will come. So my strategy right now is like, I want to show up and talk about it because I've done all the one-on-one sales, organic marketing grind. And I'm like, I just want to be more purposeful and focused. And I want to create a message that resonates with many people.
That's so good. That's so good. And
Yeah.
you're describing like the
Yeah.
exact path that honestly I'm trying to think of and I cannot think of. So, I'll put a little footnote. Maybe I'll think of it after the podcast, but I'm trying to think of someone that I know that really built something meaningful in the coaching and expert space that didn't start with just helping one person,
Right.
and creating like those case studies. But I think that you're right. Like the first 3 years typically is a lot of stumbling around and trying things and finding out what doesn't work for you. Like, I really appreciate what you said about like, hey, I tried this LinkedIn process. I tried this Facebook process. I tried, kind of getting into that try guys kind of a mode of just trying these things to find something that resonates. And what I'm hearing now is that you've discovered, oh, community building on this platform, school, that actually appeals to me. And you're really highlighting something that is really difficult to do right out the gate, which is what's my standard offer? Like, what is my core value proposition? What is that thing that I want to commit to and get to be the best at that is, again, in alignment, so that then you can build achievement. I'm really curious, I haven't started the school games or anything like that. Where do you find people to come and join the school community?
Interestingly, people who follow me came from Facebook.
Oh, so the work you did before is
Yes, of
translating to
course.
success after. That's awesome.
So it's like and then this year I actually changed. We were evolving, right? Because we don't know who we are meant to serve the best. And then as we grow, everything changes. And I think you mentioned something about business gets easier as you get better. I think it was one of your posts. And I was like, yes, like business gets easier as you get better. And I was like, I went from corporate clients to small business owners. And then I went from like people who have a lot of expertise, like mostly consultants. Now they want to coach because they have perspective and they want to do something different. They want to create something that's that's of their own. And I was like, that's me. Like I want to serve people who are like me. And I didn't realize that. And then I was so scared and I didn't think that I was qualified enough to help small business owners when I just left corporate. Who am I to serve those people? But few years in, and I'm like, I think I can do it because I may not know everything, but I went through so many difficult times that people who are a few steps behind me, I could certainly empathize with them better. And even though there are a lot of business coaches who are more experienced than I might be, I'm like, I probably resonate with these people better because I'm closer to their journey. And that's when everything changed, actually. And then I realized what I was offering, my core offer, it became clearer. I'm still working on it. And it was an epiphany. That's what I did in corporate. It was really weird. Once that happened, and I was like, I am not starting over. I'm not new. I've done this for 2 decades. And I was like, that's it. But you have to kind of turn it around and make it out to be a different, unique product that these people want. And I just started laughing and I'm like, oh my gosh, 3.5 years later. And I'm like, that's something that I was good at already is what I'm going to leverage as a
Oh,
coach.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you keep adding to your tool belt, like you are somebody who continues the study, who continues the work. And, in my opinion, that's really the mark of a professional is somebody who believes in professional development and believes in the growth and like stays in the pocket. And I really love that. So, Haysing, I would love your hot take. What do you think are 3 things that help a coach not to suck?
3 things to suck. I think you got to try a lot of things and have a perspective. Just don't regurgitate what you heard yesterday. Don't do that. So try a lot of things, make a lot of mistakes, and have your own opinion and tell it with conviction. This is your perspective. It might serve you, it might not. I think that's the most important thing, not to suck and be unique. And the second one is do not preach people. Like being a coach doesn't mean you're a better person. You're ahead of other people. You just have skill sets in certain area. Because I think I see a lot of coaches who are preaching and trying to educate and they don't want that, but they come across as I crossed the bridge and I'm better than you. And that's when you disconnect with people you wanted to serve so badly. So
Mm.
it's like you have skill sets they need to help them. You're not better than them. I think that's the important thing. And third one, I think is just be open and you just never know. I never thought like the type of coaching that I'm really passionate about now and people that I want to help are so different from people and offer that I had in mind almost 4 years ago. So I just be open-minded and meet a lot of people, and you learn the best from people who are least like you.
That's so good. I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah,
yeah.
these are awesome tips. So, and Haysing, if people wanted to follow you, what's the best way to do that?
Join my free school community. It's growing. It is about helping people who want to create their own IP. I call that framework, your process methodology. And then what I do differently is I help people to add their origin story, why they discover, how they discover, why their journey to create their own IP and what it means to their ideal clients. So that's something that I'm really passionate about at the moment. And then all these other good things like, mindset and personal development and all these goodies.
That's amazing. Amazing. And we'll include the link to that below the show notes. Listener, thank you for being here. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you don't miss another episode. And Haysing, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate you.
I had a ball. It's really nice. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And hey, listener, go ahead and leave a review. If you found this to be a helpful episode, one of the best ways for people to find it is by reading reviews. So go ahead and share, like, what did you love? What was maybe an insight or something that was really helpful? And Hastings working really hard here. So I think she deserves 5 stars. I know that's what I'm going to leave as a review. And go ahead and share this episode with perhaps 3 of your friends. I'm sure you know somebody who is either contemplating making the leap from corporate, or maybe they're in the first few years of business and they're wondering, like, is this normal? Is this struggle normal? Like, this conversation is really going to help your friend. So go ahead and share it with them by sharing the link. You can send it over text or over DM, however you want to share it. And we will see you the next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.